I truly believe in the rule that structure creates freedom. In today's episode, I will be talking about how I stay consistent with a 9-to-5. And the topics that I'll be talking about specifically is related to training and content creating, because those are the two main things that I've been focusing on during this journey. And a lot has changed in the past quarter because I went from working remotely to working in the office 3 to 4 days a week. And being 100% remote has given me a wider availability, some may say, and more opportunities to do things on my downtime. And now that that's gone, I have to figure out how to be consistent in that, and here are the ways that I was able to do it. One of the ways was time blocking. I honestly live by my Google Calendar, and if you know me personally, you know that's true. I have a calendar for pretty much anything. I have obviously a work calendar, I have a training calendar, and I also have like a physical calendar that I write down, like a whiteboard one, for my training so I can just see it before I head out the door, and another physical calendar for just life, whether that's meetup groups or personal events or things that I need to keep track of. I live by the calendar, and that's very type A of me, yes, I know, but it helps keep me in check, essentially. It just keeps reminding me of, oh, I have this thing today, or oh, this week I will be doing this, because without it, I honestly wouldn't be able to be as organized as I am. And I would highly recommend obtaining either one of them, whether you're more physical, handwritten calendar kind of person. I used to own like a bullet journal, and I used to do that all the time. I don't have as much time now to do that, and I just need something that's like quick and easy and online. So that's why the Google Calendar is also helpful, because it's simple, easy to share with other people, and I can just pick it up and look on my phone and see what I have to be doing that day or week. And when it comes to social media and content creating, my editing schedule is also part of that calendar. So on the calendar, I normally time block very loosely, by the way, my filming days, my editing days, and my scheduling day. So essentially when I'm filming, I try to film throughout the week and just film little things in my life just so that I can use it as B-roll. And then for episodes like this, where I'm doing like a sit down, normally I film those on the weekend. I've just been kind of playing around with it because I've been struggling to figure out when to do these things rather than doing them every single day, like filming, editing, and posting every single day. I like to spread it out, and it makes it a lot easier for me to manage. And then as for editing, I'll edit maybe Monday or Tuesday, depending on my workload, any of the days of the week except for Thursday, because Thursday is when I schedule the video to be sent out or launched or made live. So Wednesday would ideally be the day that I schedule my long form videos like this. So that's kind of what my editing schedule looks like. For my training schedule, this is based by week and then also based on the race that I'm doing. So if it's a HYROX race, like what I'm doing now, I combined my running schedule and my lifting schedule with it. So instead of just running specifically, because I normally would train for a half marathon/marathon, now I'm doing both because it applies to both. So now that I'm doing that, I normally run, I want to say 3 times a week, and then I lift maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And I've talked about this schedule, I want to say, or this workout split in my previous episode. So if you want to look into that, I deep dive on that whole split, but also I deep dive on what I do and how I alternate based off of how I'm feeling. So like this week, I'm not exactly feeling my best because my husband got sick and I may or may not be getting sick. So I'm trying to tone it down a little bit so that I don't crash right away, because my race is actually in a couple weeks or so. So I have to tread lightly on my lifting and running. So that's essentially what I do training wise. Another piece to that to help me stay consistent with having a 9 to 5/hybrid role now is having morning versus evening workouts. I do both, honestly, because my life is kind of all over the place. And if I showed you my calendar, you would see why. It's like a nice, beautiful rainbow right now. So I like to break it down to morning versus evening workouts. And I wanted to go over the pros and cons of it. But essentially what happens is, if I don't go to bed on time and I wake up late, I'm going to have an evening workout the following day, vice versa. So it's like if I do have a decent amount of sleep and I get to bed on time and I wake up on time in the morning, then I'll do an early morning workout. But now on to the pros and cons of that. So morning workouts, the pros for me are I get it out of the way, I get the training out of the way, and I'm not thinking about it during the day because I already did it already. And then the second pro for it is that I feel productive the rest of the day because my brain is already, the gears are already turning afterwards, and I also feel good, and I have that dopamine hit that helps me tackle anything that I think is challenging at the time, and that applies to work or anything that's I have going on in my life. And then the cons of the morning workouts is that I may or may not get enough recovery time from the previous day. So say that I did work out in the evening or in the morning. Sometimes if I don't sleep well or have enough time for recovery, then it could lead to, either a sickness or injuries. And thankfully I have not had that happen yet, but that's kind of where I'm at with that. And then the other cons of it, this is not that bad, but I get annoyed, is that I rush to the gym or get ready to go to the gym. And thankfully, I've been able to work out at my office gym, which has been really nice because I can just work out there, change, and then go upstairs and go to work. That's been really nice. They do have showers and whatever, but that's been helpful for me on staying consistent on my training regimen. However, I have to rush to get there, and I also have to carry so many things. I have like my backpack, I have my gym bag, I have my lunch box, and it's just, I feel like, for lack of words, a donkey or like a camel, and I'm carrying my whole life with me, essentially. So it's kind of annoying having to do that. And then going on to the evening workouts and the pros of that versus the morning workouts. So evening workouts, the pros of it, honestly, it helps me unwind after work, and I don't have to think about anything else. Because normally when I go home after work and I don't work out, I just kind of scroll on my phone, and that doesn't actually help me rest. But when I work out after the gym, then it helps me unwind, which is kind of nice. Even though I'm at work at the gym, it's still a second place outside of my desk, essentially. And then the other nice part is that I don't have to rush to go to the gym because I just go once I'm done with work. And once I'm done with work, I'm already wanting to do something else. So I'm not exactly rushing, but I'm more motivated around that time. The cons of it, though, I would say is that if I go to a public gym or even my work gym, sometimes everyone and their mother is working out. It doesn't matter when, but it's just like, I feel like it gets so busy, and it's a good problem to have because everyone's being healthy and all, but it's hard when you can't do your full workout. It takes you 2 hours versus an hour and a half because you're waiting for someone on a machine. So that's one of the cons. And in order for me to get to the gym, a public gym, without it being busy, I would have to be there, I don't even know, at 2:30. And I don't know. I just feel like that's just early, but it's doable, and it helps me train, so be it. And then the other con of it is that if I lift or work out too late, it can affect my sleep schedule. And the times that has happened is when I would go home after work, I would eat a pre-workout meal, and then I would go to the gym. But by that time, it's already 4:30, 5, or 5 o'clock, and then everyone and their mom is there, and then I'm there probably till, and then I know, the fact that I know it's going to be busy, I don't even show up. I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to show up around 6 or 7, because normally everyone's gone around that time. But then I lift or work out late, and then that affects my sleep. So because after I get out of the gym, I would say about maybe 8 o'clock, then I'll eat dinner around 8:30 or 9, and then I gotta go to bed. It's a whole thing. So those are the pros and cons of a morning and evening workout. And it may or may not be different for you, because I don't know if you have an office gym or a public gym that you go to, but these are the things that I'm working with and how I stay consistent regardless of these obstacles. It gives me, honestly, it just gives me more options, which is really nice. I am very grateful for that. And that's kind of something that I wanted to share, so that in case you also have these issues, you can figure out ways to overcome them, essentially. The other piece that I want to talk about is protecting and prioritizing rest days. Honestly, this is the tough part sometimes for me, because if I were to not follow my workout routine or split to a T, I start basically stacking them. So instead of, I was supposed to lift yesterday, but I didn't, and then today I'm supposed to run, I will do both in one day, and then I have to rest. And then that basically draws out what the following week will look like for me. So I've been really pushing that and pushing workouts another day in order to rest or recover. So today I was supposed to, or I get to do an upper body workout, but because I'm not feeling so good, and because I feel like I'm gonna get sick, I'm gonna push that back, because I'm gonna be going to a golf driving range later today. So it's like, that'll be my upper body. And then just to see how I feel, because I'm hesitant and I know my body now, and I know when it's probably gonna get sick. And then there's days where I'm like, I'll just push through, which is not great. Don't do that unless you can handle it. But also know that there will be consequences if you push too hard. But I feel like I know myself very well and I understand my limits. But that's one of the ways that helps me prioritize my rest days, is by pushing my workouts out. And then I also say no to any invites that were either not part of my plan on my calendar, or they were just brought upon me randomly, which is very similar to not being on the calendar already. And that happens a lot, because we have amazing friends that like to invite us to do things, and we appreciate the invites, but then there's days where we literally have 3 things that day, and that person invited us to another thing, and you have to say no. You have to set boundaries, because you got to protect the rest and the time that you have, because if you say yes to everything, you're not exactly providing the time that that person wants from you. You're shortening that time, because if you have 3 things that day, say a coffee meet up with a friend, and then you have lunch with your mom, and then you gotta do a workout in the end, and then someone wants you over for dinner, can't do that. You can't, because if one of those 3 things get out of line of how long you're there for, the rest of the events, you're going to be late, or you're going to have to cut the event short. And I know that from experience. And so saying no to any invites that are unplanned, and then also don't serve me at that time, or I just don't have the energy for, I'm going to say no to, unfortunately. And if you're a friend of mine and you're watching this, I'm sorry. That's what I'm standing by. So I'm learning to do that. I'm a big people pleaser, clearly, because I have a freaking YouTube channel. But that's kind of what I do to help prioritize that. And then adding on to it, I listen to my body and my energy levels. So that kind of piggybacks on what I was saying, where I listen to how my body's feeling that day. And if I'm exhausted and I don't feel like socializing, I won't be a part of it. There was one time when my husband was having his coworkers over, and I was tapped out on social engagement. I was like, I'm done. So I had a conversation with him, and I was like, either I stay in our room like a weirdo and just not talk to anybody, or I have to yeet out of here and do something else. And he's like, go ahead, do something else. That's totally fine. So I left and I went to watch a movie, and it was great. and I had a great time. And I didn't have to talk to anybody. I just watched the movie and that was it. And then I came back and I was fine. I was able to socialize after that, but I was exhausted. So I was just like, we got to wrap this up. But I'm basically learning that protecting my rest days have really helped me stay consistent with a 9 to 5, because that also leads to the whole sleep schedule, and then also leads to just making sure that I have the energy the following day or the rest of the week. So just keeping an eye on that and being mindful of it. Another thing to be mindful about is avoiding burnout on being online. As a content creator or social media person, I've been really thinking about, or really trying to research on how to balance this kind of hobby or life, because a lot of people use this as their life. They do this every day. How do they balance it? And from what I've been seeing, it seems like no one has a balance. It's all or nothing industry, which I totally get, because you have to post every day. But the way that I've been learning to avoid that is honestly serving myself, and then serving what I think the community would want or should have. And one way of doing that is just learning to have fun with it, because everyone's taking it so seriously. They want to make money out of this. I'm not trying to make money out of this. I'm just doing it because I thoroughly enjoy this, and I want to have fun with it. I don't want to make this such a crazy thing where I have to get this done, and if I don't get this done, it's not perfect and I can't do it, and whatever. I fall into that trap all the time, where it's like, oh, if I'm not posting every Thursday of the week, or every Thursday of the month, then I'm not worth being a YouTuber. No, it shouldn't be like that. It should be something that's fun to do, because that's how it was when it first came out. YouTube came out where people just posted whatever they wanted, and it should be like that. And now it is like that, sorta still, but it's also definitely more business focused and selling, and you're doing a bunch of sales and whatever, and influencing, and it's just, people take it a little too seriously, and I'm trying to make it more fun and a little bit more knowledgeable, so then you profit from it, from your time of watching this. So that's one way of me avoiding burnout. Another way of me avoiding burnout online and staying consistent is I have this habit of finding ideas on social media and saving them and getting overwhelmed, because I've saved so many that I don't know where to start. But I'm trying to reframe that and think of it as these new ideas as an opportunity to show what I can do, and an opportunity for me to try something new. So seeing those new ideas that people post and just trying them out, because that kind of ties into having fun with it and just seeing how I do, because I enjoy editing and I love content creating, so it hits two birds with one stone there. So that's another way of me avoiding burnout online. And then the other piece is, I would say, you pick and choose your battles, really. For me, I've been really trying to be cognizant and aware of how much I'm on social media, and I use the Opal app, and that's helped a decent amount, where it does the time, or was it time blocking? No, it's like app blocking on my phone, and it helps me stay on track, essentially, so I'm not on social media every hour of the day. And one way of me using that is, whenever I do have the blockers unblocked, I use that time to post on my social media or whatever. Basically what I'm trying to say is, I use that time to create versus overconsume social media, and I've been trying really hard to balance that, because I know that burning out online kind of ties to being online too much. And when you're online scrolling and you're creating content and you're editing, it gets a lot. And I see why people burn out, and I see why not everyone can do this job, because, or hobby, I'm gonna call this a hobby for me, but it's because you're on your phone the whole time, or your laptop, and you're on the screens the whole time, and you forget to touch grass. So all I'm trying to say is, choose your time wisely, and I know it's harder to do, but if you're really intentional about it and you do your best to do so, I feel like it will balance it out. And it really has helped me with my mental health to not burn out from scrolling and being online too much and over consuming. So that's one of the things. I'll probably have another episode on how to not over consume, and I know everyone is talking about that and everyone's on the boat of that, but it's like I'm gonna probably talk about it in a more realistic way. And for someone who works a 9 to 5, works on making content, loves to train, and then also likes to scroll and likes to watch memes, so it's kind of the trifecta of what to do. So that's pretty much the end of this episode. I appreciate you guys for listening, and if you would like to continue following me on this journey, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye.